So this museum in Australia just moved a prized Picasso painting into the bathroom. I'll explain. Right, so the Museum of New and Old Art, or MONA, is a museum in the Australian state of Tasmania. And they've been stirring up some controversy because of its ladies' lounge installation by American artist and curator Keisha Keshala. That's because the only men allowed inside are the butlers serving the women who visit it. Also, it's not just a Picasso inside, there are other famous artworks as well. Right, in this, because the whole exhibit is meant to be a work of feminist art in itself. Though of course, that has not sit well with everybody. And so what we ended up seeing happening is that last year, when a guy named Jason Lau wasn't allowed to enter the ladies' lounge, he filed a complaint with Tasmania's anti-discrimination commissioner, saying that he was discriminated against because of his gender, and saying, I visited MONA, paid 35 Australian dollars on the expectation that I would have access to the museum, and I was quite surprised when I was told that I would not be able to see one exhibition. And one of the interesting things here is that Keshala actually said she agreed with Lau, but she also added that was the whole point, with Keshala actually saying to another man who complained about the exhibit, the exclusion of men is the artwork. And so when this whole thing was finally heard by a Tasmanian court last month, that's actually what her team argued. Her lawyer claiming that the work was necessarily discriminatory and that denying men access to it allowed them to experience it just in a different way. And with that, specifically citing a legal exemption that says that discrimination may be acceptable if it is, quote, designed to promote equal opportunity for a group of people who are disadvantaged or have a special need because of a prescribed attribute. Right, and to that point, the ladies' lounge is said to have taken inspiration from male-only spaces in Australia. For example, Australia only permitted women to enter public bars from 1965 on, and today you still have a number of elite gentlemen's clubs still excluding women from membership. But in the end, we saw the court disagree, and so the ladies' lounge has actually been forced to close temporarily, with the court issuing orders to implement reforms to make it compliant with Tasmania's Anti-Discrimination Act. And so what we're now seeing this week is while the museum also filed an appeal with the Supreme Court, arguing that the tribunal took too narrow a view when examining women's historical and ongoing societal disadvantage, Keshala also announced her strategy of malicious compliance, with one of her workarounds being to move some of the key artworks in the ladies' lounge, including works by Pablo Picasso, into a women's toilet. But notably, that's just in the meantime, because she's actually turning the whole installation into a restroom so that it would qualify for an exemption in Tasmania's Anti-Discrimination Act for the, quote, provision or use of facilities. But they're saying that a toilet is en route to MONA and will be installed within the coming 45 days, and saying that this will be the greatest toilet and men won't be allowed to use it. Also, on top of that, Keshala is saying that the ladies' lounge will start offering Bible studies in order to meet the exemption for religious institutions, with her ironically highlighting Bible passages like this one from Corinthians, which says it is shameful for women to speak. And then as if that wasn't enough, she suggested that the ladies' lounge could meet another exemption by functioning as a school, with her saying there that they would charge tuition to men. Right? And so with this, for many, including Keshala, they see this as turning the entire debacle into a giant art project, with her even telling the BBC that the high-stakes case made it feel like her artwork was coming to life. And actually, to that point, last month she arrived at court with an entourage of 25 women, all dressed in Navy business attire, who entered the courtroom in choreographed fashion, with them then reportedly silently reading feminist texts, posing, crossing their legs, and applying lipstick in unison during the proceedings. And this week, she appeared on Australian news reading the book Men Who Hate Women while being served espresso by a man. And while, of course, I'd love to know your thoughts in general on the situation and the art of it and the argument of it all, the only thing I can really say is I have, regardless of my opinion on whatever, I have a respect for the commitment to the troll here. Like, I didn't know you could be professionally petty as a job. If I knew that was an option growing up, granted, I still may legitimately have had the same job, but maybe I could have gotten to that earlier rather than thinking I was going to be a doctor even though I was too stupid.